When was the last time you truly respected yourself? Not the version of you that performs for others, not the version that smiles when it's breaking. The real you, the one that hides behind all the noise, the one you silence just to be accepted. You've been chasing approval for so long, you've forgotten what it feels like to move through life without asking for permission. Every like, every compliment, every glance of recognition gives you a momentary high, but it fades, doesn't it? And when it does, you're left empty again. Because deep down, you know, none of it fills the space that only your own respect can occupy. You tell yourself you're not enough yet, not successful enough, not attractive enough, not smart enough. So you try harder, bend further, shape yourself into something the world might finally approve of. But the more you change to be accepted, the further you drift from who you really are. And that's the quiet tragedy most people live with. The slow erosion of the self in exchange for temporary validation. You start to believe that love must be earned, that worth must be proven, that respect must be granted by someone else. But that's a lie. It always has been. The truth is, you teach people how to treat you. Every time you shrink to make others comfortable, you tell the world you're willing to be small. Every time you tolerate disrespect, you show that your boundaries are negotiable. Every time you stay silent when your soul is screaming, you confirm that your voice doesn't matter. But it does. It always has. You've just forgotten the sound of it. Respect doesn't come from applause, it comes from alignment, from the quiet decisions no one sees. The ones where you choose yourself even when it's hard. It's saying no when everyone expects you to say yes. It's walking away from what doesn't honor you, even when you're scared to be alone. It's trusting your own voice, even when it trembles. And it's not something you fake or demand. It's something you become. There's a reason self-respect feels so powerful. It's the foundation of every real connection, every act of courage, every moment of peace. Without it, everything collapses. You can't build confidence on self-betrayal. You can't find love while you're abandoning yourself. You can't expect others to see your worth while you're hiding it behind guilt, fear, and compromise. The world mirrors what you believe about yourself. If you believe you're unworthy, people will treat you that way. But the moment you decide you deserve better, everything starts to shift. You stop chasing and you start attracting. You stop begging to be seen and you start being felt. You stop trying to prove your value and you start living it. That's the quiet revolution, when you no longer seek validation because you already know who you are. You move differently, speak differently. You walk into a room and your energy says what words never could: I respect myself. And people feel it, they respond to it. Because self-respect is magnetic. It draws in what's real and repels what's not. But it doesn't happen overnight. It begins with one small decision: to stop betraying yourself, to stop saying yes when your heart says no, to stop settling for crumbs when you deserve the feast, to stop letting fear disguise itself as loyalty. Respect isn't about ego, it's about truth. It's about honoring your own worth so deeply that the world has no choice but to do the same. So ask yourself, what would your life look like if you finally respected yourself enough to stop settling? How would it feel to wake up and know you don't need anyone's permission to exist as you are? That's not arrogance. That's peace. That's power. That's what happens when you remember who you are before the world told you who to be. You've spent enough time waiting for others to choose you. It's time you choose yourself. Because until you do, until you respect yourself, nobody else will. There comes a moment when silence becomes unbearable, when you realize you've been living your entire life for everyone but yourself. You've carried the weight of expectations so long, you forgot what it felt like to breathe freely. But something inside you is waking up now. You can feel it, the pull to stop pretending, to stop performing, to stop trading pieces of your soul for acceptance that never lasts. This is the moment when everything can change, but only if you're willing to burn the lies you've been living under. You've been conditioned to believe that humility means shrinking, that respect means compliance, that love means sacrifice. But those were cages dressed as virtues. The truth is, real respect begins when you stop needing to be understood by everyone, when you stop explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. You don't need to prove your worth to anyone who benefits from your doubt. You owe yourself the version of life that doesn't require constant apology. Every time you betray your own voice to keep the peace, you lose a piece of it. Every time you stay where you're not valued, you teach your heart that it doesn't matter. But it does. It matters more than anything, because the way you treat yourself sets the standard for the world. If you tolerate disrespect, it becomes your reality. If you set yourself on fire to keep others warm, they'll let you burn. People don't always give back what you give them. They give you what you accept. And here's the part no one tells you. Self-respect will cost you things you thought you couldn't live without. People will leave, doors will close, comfort will disappear. But what's left after that? Freedom. You'll walk lighter, you'll breathe deeper, you'll look in the mirror, and finally recognize the person staring back. That's not loss, that's liberation. It's the price of becoming whole again. You are not meant to be small. You are not meant to beg for what you already deserve. You are meant to stand tall in the storm, knowing that your worth isn't up for negotiation. That's what scares people. Your refusal to break for their comfort. But that's also what commands respect. Strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's the quiet conviction of someone who knows exactly who they are and refuses to settle for less. There's a fire that begins the moment you stop waiting for permission. It grows every time you say no to what drains you, yes to what expands you. Every time you choose honesty over approval, alignment over appearance, truth over comfort. That fire is self-respect turning into power. And once it starts burning, there's no going back. You can't unsee your own worth. You can't unknow your value. You can't go back to living as half of yourself once you've tasted what it feels like to be whole. So stop running from your reflection. Face it. Look into your own eyes and tell the truth you've been avoiding. You've given too much to people who never earned it. You've waited too long for someone to save you. But no one's coming. It's you. It's always been you. You are the one who decides what's acceptable. You are the one who chooses how your story unfolds. The respect you crave from the world is the respect you've been withholding from yourself. This is the moment you reclaim it. Not by shouting, not by fighting, but by standing in quiet certainty. You don't have to convince anyone. You don't have to prove anything. Just live in a way that honors your truth. Let your actions speak louder than your explanations. Let your boundaries be your declaration. Let your silence be strength, not submission. Because once you respect yourself, the world recalibrates. People treat you differently. Life responds differently. You stop chasing what was never meant for you and start attracting what was always waiting. The noise fades, the chaos quiets, and what's left is clarity, the kind that only comes when you finally decide you're enough. Respect yourself so fiercely that nothing can make you question your worth again. Because when you do, something extraordinary happens. You stop living for approval and you start living for truth. And that's when the world finally begins to respect you. Not because you demanded it, but because you became it. Respect yourself, and the world begins to shift. But that's when the real challenge begins. Because once you stop living small, the world will test you. It will whisper doubts into your ear, remind you of your past failures, show you every reason to crawl back into comfort. That's the trap. Growth always demands discomfort. Respect always demands resistance. You will be tempted to return to what's familiar because the unknown feels dangerous. But that fear isn't a warning, it's a signal. It means you're stepping into something real. Every great change starts with a moment of defiance. The moment you refuse to keep breaking yourself just to be accepted. The moment you realize peace is worth more than approval. You'll lose people, but you'll gain yourself. You'll let go of what's heavy, and in that release, you'll find clarity. Because the truth is, self-respect is not built in comfort. It's forged in moments when you choose your worth over your weakness. There will be days when you feel like you're falling apart, when your voice shakes, when your boundaries are tested, when walking away feels impossible. Those are the days that define you, not the easy ones, not the ones when everything flows. It's the moments when your heart breaks, but you still choose yourself. That's when your foundation strengthens. Every time you say, "I'm not available for disrespect," you are rebuilding your soul from the inside out. You've spent years training your mind to doubt itself, to believe that your worth depends on others. But you can unlearn that. You can rewire it. Neuroscience proves that the brain changes through repetition. Every time you choose respect over self-abandonment, every time you replace guilt with grace, your identity rewrites itself. You are literally reprogramming your mind to remember your power. It's not magic, it's self-awareness in motion. The world mirrors your energy. When you carry yourself like someone who knows their value, you stop attracting chaos. You stop begging for love. You start drawing in people and opportunities that match your energy. That's not coincidence. It's alignment. You're no longer vibrating at the frequency of lack. You're living as if you're already whole. And that's when life begins to meet you halfway. But make no mistake, this path demands courage. It's easy to fall back into old patterns, to keep peace at the cost of your self-worth. It's harder to stand tall and say, "No more." That kind of strength doesn't roar, it stands silently in conviction. The moment you stop explaining yourself, you become untouchable. The moment you stop chasing, you become magnetic. That's the paradox of self-respect. The less you try to earn it, the more it grows. Think about the life you've been settling for, the relationships that drain you, the jobs that suffocate you, the dreams you've buried because you didn't think you deserved them. That version of you, the one that settles, is not who you really are. You were not born to merely exist. You were born to expand, to build, to create, to stand tall in your truth even when your voice shakes. You are capable of more than the world has led you to believe. Every time you honor your worth, you give others permission to do the same. Every boundary you set, every truth you speak, every standard you raise, it all ripples outward. You're not just changing your life, you're shifting the energy around you. You're showing the world what self-respect looks like in action. And that is the greatest form of influence there is. This is your reminder. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are awakening. You're remembering what was always there beneath the noise. That quiet, knowing that you were never meant to beg for what was already yours. Respect is not something to earn. It's something to return to. So don't look back. Don't apologize for who you've become. Don't dim your light to make others comfortable. Walk into every room knowing that you deserve to be there. Live in a way that honors your truth. Speak like your words carry weight because they do. Move like you belong because you do. The moment you fully respect yourself, life bends to meet you. Doors open. Opportunities align. People notice because respect is energy. It's presence. It's truth. And once you find it within yourself, nothing and no one can take it away. When you finally begin to respect yourself, something inside you shifts forever. You start to see the truth that was there all along. You were never broken. You were buried under expectations, under fear, under years of trying to be everything for everyone but yourself. You start to realize that every time you lowered your standards, it wasn't kindness. It was self-abandonment. And you've done it for so long that it became normal. But now normal feels unbearable because you've tasted something real. You've felt what it's like to stand in your power and there's no going back. This is where transformation becomes non-negotiable. You're not waiting for a sign anymore. You are the sign. You've seen what happens when you let people walk over you. You've seen what happens when you silence your truth. You've seen what happens when you keep giving chances to people who only take. And you've reached the point where you can't pretend it's okay anymore. That's the breaking point. But it's also the beginning of freedom. Freedom starts when you realize that losing people isn't failure, losing yourself is, and you've done that long enough. You've tried to be understanding, patient, forgiving, and all it did was teach others that your boundaries were flexible. But they're not. Not anymore. Because now you know that peace is not something you find, it's something you protect. It's the result of finally choosing yourself, even when it costs you everything that's comfortable. You start to move differently. You don't chase, you don't beg, you don't explain. You simply remove yourself from anything that makes you forget your worth. You stop engaging with people who only love you when you're easy to love. You stop justifying your boundaries to those who benefit from you having none. And for the first time, you feel powerful, not because others approve, but because you finally do. Every act of self-respect rewires you. Every boundary strengthens your backbone. Every truth you speak, no matter how much it shakes, becomes another layer of freedom. You stop seeking peace from the same places that stole it from you. You stop trying to convince people to value what they were never meant to have. You stop waiting to be chosen and start choosing yourself every single day. And that's when everything changes, because life always rises to meet you at the level of your self-worth. This is where courage comes in, because self-respect isn't soft. It's not gentle, it's fierce. It's standing in front of the mirror and saying, I will no longer shrink to fit into spaces that can't hold my truth. It's cutting ties with your old self, the one that said yes out of fear, the one that tolerated pain out of habit, the one that called chaos love. It's saying no without guilt. It's walking away without bitterness. It's realizing that solitude is not loneliness, it's sacred space where your power returns. And once it does, the world will notice. People will feel it. They'll see it in your posture, in your silence, in the way you no longer react. You won't need to prove your strength. It will be undeniable. That's the energy of someone who has stopped negotiating their worth. It's unshakable. It's magnetic. It's the kind of power that draws in respect, not because you asked for it, but because you became it. You'll start attracting people who match your energy, situations that align with your peace, opportunities that honor your growth. And what doesn't match, it will fall away naturally. You won't even need to fight it, because when you live in truth, anything built on illusion can't survive. So this is the call, the point of no return. Stop postponing the life you know you're meant to live. Stop waiting for the perfect time. There is no perfect time. There is only now. The longer you wait to respect yourself, the longer you delay the life that's waiting for you. You've carried your doubt long enough. You've worn your pain like armor. But you don't need armor anymore. You need truth. You need alignment. You need you. Stand up for yourself, even when your voice shakes. Set the boundary, even when it hurts. Walk away, even when it feels impossible. Because the moment you finally choose yourself, you stop living in survival and start living in strength. Respect yourself so deeply that nothing can make you question your worth again. Because the world will never believe you deserve more until you do. And when you finally do, everything changes. When you choose yourself, something remarkable happens. The world doesn't end. The people who truly love you stay. The ones who only took from you fade away. And what's left is real. What's left is peace. You start to see that you were never asking for too much. You were just asking the wrong people. You were never unworthy. You were just surrounded by those who couldn't see your light because they were blinded by their own darkness. And when that truth finally sinks in, you stop chasing, you stop proving, you stop explaining. You realize you don't owe anyone a smaller version of yourself. That's when respect turns into power. The kind of power that doesn't shout, doesn't demand, doesn't fight for attention. It's quiet, steady, certain. The power of someone who knows who they are and refuses to forget it again. You walk into every moment with purpose, with boundaries, with clarity. You no longer try to fit into spaces that can't hold your truth. You build your own. You create a life that mirrors your worth instead of betraying it. But it's not easy. Growth never is. You'll be tempted to slip back into old habits, to lower your standards, to trade authenticity for approval. That's the test. The old version of you will whisper, maybe it's not so bad. Maybe I can stay where it's safe. But safety has a cost, and it's your soul. Comfort zones are cages built from fear, and you've lived in them long enough. The longer you stay, the more you forget how to fly. The moment you break free, the wind feels terrifying. But that fear, it's proof that you're moving. You don't overcome weakness by avoiding it. You overcome it by facing it, by standing in the fire of your own transformation and refusing to run. That's what strength truly is. Not the absence of fear, but the refusal to bow to it. Every time you choose courage over comfort, you teach your subconscious that you can trust yourself. And once you trust yourself, you become unstoppable. Because no one can manipulate the person who's no longer afraid to lose. You start to see rejection differently. It's not failure, it's redirection. It's the universe removing what isn't aligned with your growth. You stop taking it personally because you understand that not everything lost is meant to be mourned. Some things are meant to be released. You begin to see endings not as punishments, but as openings. And that shift changes everything. You stop clinging, you start flowing, you stop fearing loss, because you realize that anything built on truth will never require you to betray yourself to keep it. This is where you step fully into your power. You no longer wait for others to recognize your value. You live like it's undeniable. You don't ask for respect, you embody it. You don't chase love, you radiate it. Everything you once begged for, you become. And when you become it, the world responds in kind. You attract what mirrors your new identity. Because self-respect changes your energy, and energy is the language the world speaks most clearly. The stakes are higher now because you know too much to go back. You've seen what happens when you settle. You've felt the emptiness of trying to be everything for everyone. And you've realized that the most painful thing isn't being alone. It's being surrounded by people who make you feel invisible. You can't afford to go back to that. Not after everything you've learned. Not after everything you've survived. This is your turning point. The line in the sand. The place where you stop hoping and start becoming. Because life doesn't change when you wish. It changes when you decide. When you commit. When you act like you deserve the life you've been dreaming of. The version of you that's waiting on the other side of fear is not a fantasy. It's real. It's you without limits. It's you without apology. It's you without the weight of everyone else's expectations. So stand tall, breathe deep, remember who you are. You are not broken, you are being rebuilt. You are not lost, you are being redirected. You are not too late, you are right on time. The world bows to the one who knows their worth. And the moment you respect yourself enough to stop shrinking, you become the force that can't be ignored, can't be dismissed, and can't be replaced. This is your power. Claim it, live it, be it.